Liminal space, that strange in-between chapter where one season has clearly ended, but the next one hasn't fully arrived yet. Liminal space means in between. The word comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. So, a liminal space is the place between what was and what's next. That can be a physical place, like a hallway, doorway, bridge, waiting room, or airport terminal. Places you pass through, not places you stay. The emotional and spiritual meaning of liminal space. That's the season in life where something has ended, something new has not fully begun. You no longer fit the old version of yourself. You don't yet know the new version. If it's that feeling of, I know this old way is no longer for me, but I don't yet know what comes next. That is liminal space psychology. For example, after a breakup, before you feel whole again, after the children move out, when the house feels different, after leaving a toxic environment, but before healing, after deciding you want different relationships, when faith is shifting from tradition into something personal. You may be living in a liminal space right now. You're no longer accepting the same cycles, but you're still discovering what healthier patterns look like. That middle place can feel consuming. It may feel like restlessness, loneliness, uncertainty, questioning everything, grief for the old self, fear of making the same mistakes. That's normal. Liminal periods are often uncomfortable because they ask us to release certainty. But they are also deeply transformative. This is where identity shifts happen. This is where generational patterns get questioned. This is where you stop saying, why does this keep happening to me? And start asking, who am I becoming? Spiritually, liminal space can also be a wilderness season. A lot of people describe it as the place where God is doing inner work that isn't yet visible on the outside. Not punishment, preparation. The old self is falling away. The new self hasn't fully emerged. That can feel like silence, waiting and being stretched. Sometimes liminal space feels like grief mixed with hope. You miss what was, even if what was unhealthy. And that's part of why people go back to old patterns, because the in-between is uncomfortable. The mind loves certainty, even painful certainty. Healing asks us to tolerate the unknown long enough for something better to form. I'll say something a little tender here. Don't mistake the discomfort of liminal space for failure. Sometimes, feeling lost is evidence that you are no longer asleep to the old cycle. That is growth. Space of reflection and discernment that most people never really reach, the space between your own healing and the choices about who deserves a seat in your life moving forward. If you've done a lot of internal work, you've processed your dark space, owning your choices, sitting with emotions, and letting yourself feel the grief, confusion, and even mistakes that came from that time. You've practiced forgiveness and mercy, both for yourself and others, without clinging to bitterness. You recognize that people can change, and you're thoughtfully separating curiosity about someone's growth from obligation to reinvest your time and energy. You set boundaries for yourself around people who were cruel while holding space for someone you once loved but who may have been hurting. That last part, being open to someone you were in a relationship versus someone who was cruel to you in a different context, is completely natural. It's not inconsistent. It's your heart and mind recognizing intimacy and vulnerability are different from casual cruelty. If a past partner was connected to you emotionally, then that may also be which often triggers deeper reflection and curiosity. A coworker or a casual acquaintance who hurt you, without that emotional depth, may not carry the same bridge for reconciliation in your mind. Do I give someone time to show they've changed? This question is a classic liminal space question. You've done the internal work, but now you're navigating boundary versus curiosity. You're weighing time and energy. You invested a lot in healing yourself. Do you want to reinvest into seeing if someone else has done the same? Trust versus evidence. Change isn't just words, it's demonstrated in choices, consistency, and behavior over time. Deservingness. You're asking whether someone who may have caused harm deserves your emotional labor, even if they've changed. Here's a perspective that may help. You don't owe anyone your time or emotional labor just because they claim they've changed. Your growth doesn't obligate you to test someone else's. You can hold curiosity without commitment. You can allow yourself to wonder about someone's growth without needing to engage deeply or restart a relationship. Curiosity and investment don't have to be the same. Change is visible, not promised. Words can be empty, but actions over time are the proof. If someone demonstrates real change consistently, then the choice to allow them back in becomes informed. If not, your boundaries are valid. Emotional economy matters. You've healed yourself. Protecting your energy is part of respecting that journey. You've earned the right to choose selectively. Do I want to invest my time? That question isn't a moral failure or a reflection of bitterness. It's a healthy discernment process, and it shows that your self-awareness has matured. That pause itself is a sign of growth. You're no longer reacting from old patterns, guilt, or obligation. You're making a conscious choice.